Jeez. I like this. Let's consider this. At the foundation of things, there is law. A man, or a wise man, or a wise person, ascertains the laws of the world, learns them, masters the understanding of these laws. This had a profound effect on me. Those words. A wise man ascertains the laws of the world, and then his desires become powers that realize themselves. So there is a necessity for knowledge there, and not knowledge of the periodic table, but a knowledge of the living laws and order behind things, ages and the eons, how things unfolded, the understanding that things weren't always like this. I wasn't always like this, and I most definitely will not always be like this. I have a realization. In this modern world, I have to keep myself active from these creatures that have penetrated their domain here, and they see me as food. And I don't want to really kill them, even though sometimes that'll ease the pressure a little. I have a case, an important case, even for the materialists who find it difficult to grasp spiritual feelings and concepts. And the word spiritual just means it escapes our ability to grasp it easily with the pliers and the tongue and the microscope, and fiddle with it, repeat it, put it under a glass. Bring that clairvoyant man into the lab and let's test him. They can't do that. We can't do that. So, spiritual, when we talk about the writings of the books of the Bible, the Gita, the Quran, and then there are other men that came after. They are writers in our era, I would say, in the last 300 years, um, who've captured the same essence of there is a spiritual realm, no separate from the physical realm, but there is a veil covering it. The veil doesn't really cover it, but in a person's consciousness, we are separated from it in the same way we are separated from our night existence and our day existence. And a great analogy and truth would be we are so cut off from this world that when we enter it in sleep, it goes blank for us. We don't remember. So my discussions with you is always pouring out of a kind of a spiritual realm to enlighten that darkness, to bring light into that darkness, you know? And this light starts in the wakened consciousness. It starts with the thoughts and feelings that emerge out of knowledge. You know, once you start learning and thinking a particular way, you change. You know, if I keep my phone frame the same, but I change the inside and how it functions, just by upgrading and downloading apps and so on, it becomes a whole different device than just a camera that can make calls. So in the same way, how do we upgrade our mind? And not just our thinking via degrees and PhDs, right? How do we upgrade the potency of the human will? You know, how do we upgrade the efficiency of communities? And this is the way here. I've been tasked with this, not just me, of course, many people over the ages, and we all are here, right here in this kind of situation here. We are in a garden. No matter what the state of the world people see, there are wars here and there, we are always in the garden because we kind of have a foot. Even though some of us don't see into the spiritual realm, we always have a foot there. People like me and people who speak like me, think like me, and feel like me. And I'm only suggesting that you will know about this based on all that I've said. You know, other things you won't know unless you know me. But based on things that I've said and I've been saying in this type of thing, people like me always have a kind of a foot in the spiritual world. And this is always a rich, a most vibrant, rich place with endless wealth and fortune. And when I say wealth and fortune, people like to buy stuff. You know, I want this nice belt. You got $200 belt, $500 belt, $10,000 suits. These things are decent. But these things have no real, there's no way those things could really challenge these feelings you get, you know. I'll give you an example of something here that could just grow within me just being here in the forest. So the sounds, you can just hear them as sounds, right? Let's say there's 7 people listening here. Out of those 7, 6 might just hear. I can't replicate the noise, but you're hearing it, right? Now, I want you to imagine that these are several creatures. And in the way we have drones that are synchronized today, you must think like this. It's like a wind of sound moving through the upper canopy. This is what I'm experiencing. So it's no very different from your experience, but it gets very rich very fast. Okay, so this wind of sound is moving. Now very quickly, I want to dwell in there, you know. So I start with my focus. I allow the sounds to be and exist inside of me. So I stretch myself out to be all the sounds, or compress the whole world inside of me, it's the same process of feeling. And now, as the thing moves, I could almost, there is a feeling picture, just like you have when you listen. Like when you hear a sound come from here, you have a feeling picture that it's right? You're not seeing what's there, but you have a feeling picture, like you hear it coming from there. Well, imagine that in 3 dimension, and imagine that in my mind, what is happening? It's mapping it. It's plotting points of all the variety of sounds. So then now you have the moving cloud of that. So now it's going up. Now it's over here. It's going up here. It just stopped on this side. Now they're going up. They stop suddenly like that. Right? Now, I dwell in there. Easy. I go in there. I can now float in this this chorus, the music. Behind this music now there are the other birds going quack, 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 quack. Because I have one foot in there, meditation, for example, let's say a silent meditation. Some meditations can be very concentrative and working on specific things. But in a meditation where I just want to flow out, imagine if I were 90% water, and instead of being upright with a structure of bones, that I wanted to vaporize myself, the blood that flows through me, I wanted to vaporize it and have it go out in all directions. But this is what you can do in meditation. And you could do it from your senses. I could take the sounds, have the sounds vibrate my thoughts and feelings. And then with this vibration of thought and feelings, I allow myself to burst out. And then there gets to a point where things become sort of indescribable, you know. And that's why we have spiritual conversations like these. So I could describe them to you. This is our most potent power. And this is just the beginning of the type of things that, that we're getting into. And this is no one, doctrine, spirit, or religion. It's a worldview. It's a way. It's a way of thinking and feeling. And people, it's a people thing. It's less about what words you use. That's why I mentioned 3 books: the Gita, the Bible, and the Quran. I mentioned those 3 books to illustrate that, well, 1, I tell you that I have a Christian upbringing, and 2, I met my Muslim family. I call them brothers and sisters and Umi. When I was about 11, 15, that age is there. And I'm from Trinidad and Tobago. We have Hindus. I grew up on the street with some Hindus, and but I grew up in the church. And I had an uncle who was a pastor, who was very wise, because he made available books of all kinds, which allowed me to really get into the spiritual nature of things through Christianity. But because of the other books that he had there, the books on the Jesuits, I'm sure the Gita was there, and he had the Torah and all these type of books and stuff. So I kind of got into esoteric Christianity without knowing. And what is esoteric Christianity as well? Well, there's a group of Christians who are like, yo, the Bible is the word, there's no other books, right? No other books you could read, no other writer. Why would you need any other books? So I would just consider them as like Christians, normal Christians, there's nothing wrong, there's no judgment, but it's more about considering that we can really go beyond that type of Christianity. It's like, hey, you get your high school diploma, and hey, you're smart, you can read, you don't even need anything else, right? You can start a business in only half of America. So you really need anything more. But in terms of spiritual understanding and wisdom, Christianity can be very esoteric. I mean, there's very hidden meanings and understanding. The Gospels have a new meaning and light once you start going deeper into what is really meant here. So this is all it is. I was able to have an open mind and to have good relationships with different spiritual authorities. Authorities meaning the wisdom that came through a particular culture. They led. When I say authority, I don't mean dogmatic, you should listen to the Hindus, but it's more about the wisdom that poured out, just like how trees pour out fruits. Now, these guys have discovered that I'm here. But just like trees pour out fruits, you walk through the forest and find fruits, mosquitoes too. But you could get some fruits there. In the same way, different fruits grow in different regions. So in the same way, we have fruits coming out of the spiritual world through different eras and different regions. And the different names don't mean anything. And this is the issue with the more, I would say, high school level of Christian squabbles and religious squabbles in the world, is that people attach themselves too readily to the names and doctrines of things and the words of the priest and the interpretations of the priest, when one must remain open to the highest spiritual inspiration. One never stops. The Spirit is infinite. As far as wisdom is concerned, this thing is borderline impossible for a person to totally grasp. So it's the most beautiful thing. It's like this idea of, people say, chasing the carrot. Well, when it comes to spiritual wisdom, it's the carrot. You never get the carrot. You never get, you get to some levels of, I am, I know, I will. That's very good. That's a very powerful thing in the world, to have that as the way you walk around. I am and I know. What do you know? Well, I know all things. But what do you mean by that? Well, I can know all things. Well, how? Well, there's divinity in me. When I go into a certain type of meditation, I get this feeling that I could just know anything all the time. I just have to direct my attention, And you could find experiences like this documented where people have done mushrooms and so on, outside of spiritualists. Because some people might say, oh, spiritualists, you guys talking mumbo jumbo and, you really don't feel like you know everything. Well, okay, if you don't think that's possible, go investigate LSD, DMT, mushrooms, where human beings have, in an artificial manner, got themselves into states where they actually pulled out some wisdom out of the spiritual world. And it was all purely due to a state of mind. State of mind. So, the Spirit is the foundation of all things. When we look at how materials work, how trees grow, the actual times and how fruits bear and how leaves open themselves up to the sun and the moon works underground, this is all very living. More living than what we consider human bodies to be as living. There's a crystallization, a catalyzation, and a synergy that is occurring. And my work is to speak, all right? It doesn't really benefit me all the time to speak. There are other things I could speak about that I'm also excited about. But I choose to really speak about these things because, one, for me, spiritual technology and spiritual science is relevant, just as AI is relevant, So, as AI is ramping up its usefulness to humanity, I am going to ramp up the mind AI usefulness for humanity. All right? And that's the aim. The aim is to... And people like this already exist in the world. There's movements in schools. It's just that they're hidden. The people that I'm talking to, the people like me, people that would not have naturally been entered into schools and organizations and places where this type of thinking is natural. If you're in the Catholic Church or in the mosque here or in certain other parts of religion, you may not have this general feeling. You might be very attached to the surface level of religion, and not really get into a full relationship with spiritual divinity in a real way. And we have a part of this divinity in us, you know, like a drop of water from the ocean. We are the ocean, you know. So this feeling, this knowing, there has to be a resonance, the kind of shaking away of kind of a shell of ignorance. My people suffer because of lack of knowledge, and because of lack of food or lack of crypto. This is Christ's words. My people suffer for lack of knowledge. Knowledge requires effort in the physical world of the mind and the body. A person has to organize, schedule thoughts. You know, knowledge acts upon you. It really does. You know, don't be loose about what you consume. Like, you can eat, if I eat a candy right now, based on how my general consumption is, the candy will have little effect. So once a person gets control over their general life, it's great power here. Anyway, we talk like this for the 1 or 2 persons that are sensitive enough to see the type of feelings that arise in them from conversations like these, from a way of looking at things in that manner, from sitting here among still trees and having a total spiritual experience via the sounds and the movement and the dynamic feelings here. Thank you. Bugs are. They've had a good meal.